Good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're watching from. I'm Brian Manning, and I want to answer your questions about winning asylum in the United States. So, I'm Brian Manning, and I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now, as an asylum lawyer, I have a law firm, and we help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. So, look, my law firm, it's called Political Asylum Lawyers, and we're based in Texas, but honestly, it doesn't matter because we help people all over the country. It doesn't matter where we are, it doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter where you live. Our clients are all over the country. We work in asylum offices and immigration courts all over the United States to help immigrants secure their future in America through asylum. Hello. First of all, hello on YouTube, hello on Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn. Let me know where you're watching from. Tell me in the chat. Say hello in the chat and let me know where you're joining us from today. Love seeing where you guys are at, where this community of asylum seekers is located. We got Clarence, or CLRNS, says hello from New York City over on TikTok. Hey, up in NYC. Nice. The greatest city in the world, as they say in Hamilton, and something similar in Rent, two of my favorite musicals. Good to see you in New York. I love New York. Hello, Megalo777 says, hi, sir. Good to see you with us. Megalo, glad that you are joining us on the Asylum Answers show, where I want to answer your questions about winning asylum in America. So you can leave your questions in the chat, in the comments. But look, before leaving your comments, say hello. Love to see where you guys are at, where you're watching us from. So do that. Say hello. Let me know where you're joining us from today. Love to see where everyone is at. Say hello. Let me know where you're joining us from. We got Akbari says hello, sir. Nelly says hello as well. Hey, Akbari, Nelly. Glad you guys are with us. Thank you for being on this live. Hello from Houston, Texas, says Blex. So my law firm is based in Texas. We're based in Houston, Texas. But it doesn't matter where we're located because we help people all over the country, okay? We got some questions coming in now. Hello from Jersey, says Zach Diablo out in California. Mohammed, thanks for joining, Mohammed and Zach. Glad you guys are with us. Hi Manning says Miami King. Nice, I like it. Tina Gary, thanks for the follow. Glad for that. Glad to have you joining and following us. All right, yeah, Mohammed, good to see you. All right, look, I want to answer your questions about winning asylum in America. Over on YouTube, we've got Okiwan says, hey, hello, I got asylum from New Orleans. Awesome. You won your asylum case in New Orleans? Awesome. Congratulations. So glad to see that. A life changed through asylum. That's amazing news. I'm really glad to hear that. Congratulations. For those of you who are just joining us recently, I'm Brian Manning, and I'm an asylum lawyer. So I used to be an asylum officer, meaning for USCIS, I was the guy on the other side of the desk who did the interview with you and made the decision. I used to be an asylum officer, but now I'm an asylum lawyer, and my law firm is called Political Asylum Lawyers, and we help immigrants all over the United States to secure their future in America through asylum. All right, let's see what questions you have about winning asylum in America, all right? I'm going to start on TikTok. Usually we start on YouTube, but I'm going to start on TikTok today. We've got this question from Clarence, or CLRNS. Is it okay to submit evidence the day before your interview? So look, yeah, I mean, the question then, right, is this. Can you bring evidence with you to your asylum interview and submit it then for the first time, or maybe do it like the day before your interview, or is it too late by then? Look, the asylum offices, when they send you the interview notice, it says you need to submit your evidence, anything you want us to consider at all, not more than with at least 7 days remaining before the interview, okay? If you do show up with additional evidence on the day of your interview, or you submit it, after those 7 days with fewer than 7 days remaining before the interview, they usually accept it. They usually don't just straight up deny it or reject it. But if you try to bring a lot or try to submit a lot at the last minute, like a lot of documents, sometimes they will say, you know what, we're going to have to reschedule your interview because, look, I want to review it, but it's going to take some time. It might take hours to review your documents. So therefore, we're going to have to reschedule your interview. And usually you don't want that to happen. You want to have your interview as soon as possible, okay? Sometimes when they reschedule it, it might take a long time. Usually it's quick. Usually it's like a month or so. but it could be many months or even years. So I think it's risky. I think you really should try to get everything you want the officer to consider submitted at least a week before. Honestly, if it's like a few days, usually that's fine as well. But best practice is, do it over a week before. All right. Thank you for that question. Let's see. By the way, look, all of our friends here on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook, I have a recommendation for you. Go to YouTube. Go to YouTube. YouTube is where I have all my best stuff. All right. On our YouTube channel, I've got some really detailed trainings. Some super thorough. Some of them honestly are very long and detailed trainings about asylum, stuff that you need to know about if you want to maximize your chances for asylum success. So go to YouTube, and on YouTube, search for Political Asylum Lawyers. That's the name of the YouTube channel. It's also the name of my law firm, Political Asylum Lawyers. But look, if you want to talk with us and see if we think we might be able to help you and have us explain how we would do that, you can schedule a consultation to talk about this. And the best way to do that is go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. Again, that's winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, winasylum.com. All right, let's go to the questions. Miami King says, your videos are so good and it helps me. Thank you. I appreciate the kind words on TikTok. But look, Miami King, correct me if I'm wrong, but I assume you're talking about videos on YouTube, right? Maybe you're talking about on TikTok, but look, on TikTok, I've just got these little short, 1 minute videos, 2 minute videos. If you want my best stuff, some really detailed trainings, Miami King, go to YouTube and search for Political Asylum Lawyers. Okay. Political Asylum Lawyers is where I have my very best stuff on YouTube. Okay. All right. Let's go to the questions. What questions do we have about winning asylum in America? Okay. Mohammed wants to know asylum on husband abuse in home country. So look, the question is, oops, I left that on forever. The question is this: can you win asylum based on domestic abuse that you endured in your country? And look, if that's happened to you, I'm really sorry to hear about that. I hope you're getting the help now that you need to try to recover. Yeah, you can. Remember, to win asylum, it's not enough just to show that you've been persecuted or that you're at risk of being persecuted, but rather you also have to show that that persecution is motivated, at least in significant part, by the fact that you, asylum seeker, possess one of the 5 protected characteristics under U.S. asylum law. Those are your race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or something called membership in a particular social group. Now, that last one, membership in a particular social group, has been interpreted by the courts to include certain domestic abuse situations. So yeah, it might qualify. Look, we would need to talk with you in detail on a consultation, understand your situation, understand your case, to tell you with more confidence what we think about your chances for success. But generally speaking, yeah, domestic abuse can sometimes be a valid basis for winning asylum in America. Okay. Alrighty. Rilubiana says, I have asylum in New York. I came here in 2018. I was a teenager. How's everything? Because I have a date next year. It's hard to win. Let me address the question though. I think like this. Here's the question: is it even possible anymore to win asylum in America, given everything that's going on with this madness of the Trump administration trying to deport as many people as they can and making it as hard as they can to win asylum? Is there even any hope? Yes, there is. Look, we're bombarded every day in the news by how bad things are for asylum seekers and for immigrants. But I've got to tell you, it's not impossible to win. My law firm keeps winning cases. We keep winning asylum cases. It's true that I think the approval rates are going to continue to go down and get lower and lower and lower. But I do still think that that there will always be a chance for success. If you've got a real case and you're extremely well prepared, if you've got a good asylum lawyer helping you to put together and put the case together and present it well, and you're super prepared and you have good representation, I think there's always going to be a chance. We should talk. If you want to maximize your chances for asylum success, I hope you'll schedule a consultation with us. The best way to do that is just go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, to schedule that consultation right now. We want to talk, all right? Alrighty. Winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. Clarence Jean-Jacques says, hello from NYC. If USCIS reschedules your asylum interview, is it going to affect your 180 days to apply for the EAD? Very good question. Important question. The question is this. If USCIS schedules your asylum interview, but then they reschedule it, you didn't ask for it. They just send you a letter saying, hey, we're canceling that scheduled interview and we're going to reschedule it. Does the fact that it got canceled affect your ability to get your work permit, your EAD, Employment Authorization Document? Because look, any delay in your case that is considered to be caused by you, the applicant, will stop the clock. It'll freeze the clock. It'll stop counting those 150 days that you need to apply and toward those 180 days at which USCIS can actually approve that kind of application for the work permit. The good news is that no, it doesn't count against you. It doesn't hurt you. If you ask for it to be rescheduled, then yes, that will almost certainly freeze your EAD clock, stop it from counting. But when you don't ask for it and USCIS just does it on their own to you, they don't hold that against you. It will not hurt you. It will not freeze your EAD clock. Your EAD clock will keep counting. So that's good news, right? Good question. Very important one. Because they do reschedule a lot for various reasons. They do reschedule asylum interviews very often. F.A. Jade says, can you win asylum just by your words, like your statement or verbal statements? Important question again. The question is this. Is it possible to win asylum based just on what you say, like in your application materials, your declaration, and then in your testimony on the day of your asylum interview? Or do you need evidence? Do you need like documents to back it up and prove your case? Look, good news. You can win asylum without any evidence whatsoever. Look, you can win asylum based just on your testimony, what you say on the day of your asylum interview, as long as that testimony is detailed, consistent, and plausible. That's what the rules say. Your testimony must be detailed, consistent, and plausible. If it is, you can win without evidence. I mean, sure, look, it helps to have evidence. If you can get evidence that backs up what you're saying and that shows how you meet the qualifications for asylum, then sure, you should try and do that. But if you can't, it's okay. Don't stress out. Don't worry, because you can win without it. But look, you got to be super prepared. Your testimony has to be perfect, basically. The best way to have great testimony is to prepare. The best way to prepare is through practice. What kind of practice? In my law firm, we do something called a mock asylum interview, okay? It's where we do everything with you from beginning to end of what you're going to experience on the day of the real interview. We do this in a 2-hour session, and then a day or 2 or 3 later, we do a follow-up session, what we call a debrief session of 30 minutes where we give you feedback and help you improve, help you tell your story in a clearer, more impactful way, and give you all of our best tips. This experience, called the mock asylum interview experience, is, in my opinion, the most important aspect of our representation. And we do offer this as a standalone service, okay? Look, this is more important than your documents. It's more important than having a lawyer with you on the day of your interview. It's more important than everything. The preparation is the key to success. Our clients tell us this constantly, that the preparation, the mock interview, was the most important part of their case. If you want to get our help with this, call me right now. Actually, go to winasylum.com. That's where you can schedule a consultation to see if you qualify for our mock interview service. Okay, because not everyone qualifies. We need to talk with you first in the context of a consultation, get to know you and explore your case and analyze your case and tell you whether you qualify, because not everyone qualifies for the mock interview service, okay? So schedule a consultation if you're interested in that. Okay. Pavlo says, is the Arlington Asylum Office fair for LGBTQ cases? Yeah. Look, the approval rates are not high there, but they're higher there than a lot of the other offices, including, I imagine, I'm quite sure, for LGBTQ cases. It's not bad. It's not as good as like San Francisco, but it's pretty good. Okay. Trong says, asylum rate in Honolulu, Hawaii. Do you help in the state of Hawaii outside of the mainland? Yeah, we help people all over, including in Hawaii, Alaska. I don't know what the approval rate is there, Trong. I don't know if you have, if your case is an affirmative asylum case with USCIS or an immigration court. The immigration court statistics are published, so we can see what those are. I don't know off the top of my head what it would be for you. USCIS has not published approval statistics in a long time, 3 or 4 years. But it's tough. I mean, in both places, it's tough to win. You got to be ready. You got to have, you gotta have your case well prepared and be super prepared to testify. Okay. Oh, nice. Mohammed MK88 says, my green card application was approved. Thank you for all the information on your YouTube. You're welcome, Mohammed. Thank you for taking the time to share those kind words, to tell the people about that. I appreciate that. Very nice of you. Look, guys, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, go to YouTube. YouTube is where I have all my best stuff. As Mohammed was saying, is indicating, got some good stuff on YouTube that I think can help you win your asylum case. All right. So go to YouTube and search for Political Asylum Lawyers. Again, the name of that YouTube channel is Political Asylum Lawyers. That's the name of my law firm as well, Political Asylum Lawyers. All right. What do we have in the way of questions? Let's see what's going on over on TikTok. Okay. All right. How long does it take to review the removal appeal? I don't know exactly what the average is, but it's going to be months, if not years. You're talking about a BIA appeal, Abu Bakr. Yeah, it's going to be a long time, probably years, honestly. Thank you for doing this, says Max Miami 1. My pleasure. You're welcome. What questions do you have, Max? Let me know what questions you have about winning asylum in America. Oh, man. Wessam Abu Mamo says, my asylum application has been pending since December 2015. I haven't received my interview notice. So your case has been pending almost 10 years, over 9.5 years. Wow. Look, then the question is this. So your asylum case has been pending with USCIS for many years, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. What can you do? What should you do? Look, you should sue the government. At least talk with an asylum lawyer about the possibility of suing the government to force your asylum interview. Look, if you've been waiting for that long, you're in a very good position to force the interview by way of what's called a mandamus lawsuit, where you sue the government to ask a judge to tell the government to do their job, to give you your interview and your decision, to move your stalled case forward, because they have an obligation to do that. Now, you're in a very good position for success if you've been waiting 8, 9 years. Very good position for success. I can't guarantee it, but I can tell you that I assess with very high confidence that you would have success waiting that long, getting your interview scheduled. And look, I think the sooner you have the opportunity to present your case and get a decision, the better your chances for success. In other words, to put it the opposite way, with every month that passes, and for sure with every year, but even with every month, I think that your chances for success are likely to go down, 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 especially with the current administration, with the Trump administration. I think with every month that passes, it's going to get harder and harder to win asylum. So I think you should consider trying to force this forward now, to get your interview now in the next few months, rather than waiting who knows how long, 2 more years, 3 more years, 6 more years. We should talk. Look, if you're sick of waiting, you want to get certainty and confidence around your future in America, schedule a consultation with my office now. Go right now. Don't wait till this live is over. Literally pull up a new tab, go on your phone to a new browser, and go to winasylum.com. That's where you can schedule this consultation with one of our asylum professionals. WINASYLUM.com. Winasylum.com. We want to talk with you, all right? Let's do that. All right. What does the first interview consist of? What should be brought? Says Louis, L-E-W-Y. Louis, are you talking about an immigration court or the asylum office? Usually at the asylum office, there's just one interview. In immigration court, usually there's 2 hearings. So I'm guessing you're talking about immigration court. So let me address that. The question is this. So what happens at your first hearing in immigration court, and what documents do you need to take with you? Let's talk about documents first. You don't need to bring evidence. You don't need to bring a copy of your asylum application. Just take your passport, take your work permit card if you already have that. And that's really it. you don't need any other documents to present to the judge on that day. What happens at it, it's mainly administrative in nature. The judge is going to go over with you what your rights are. They're going to discuss with you the notice to appear. This is a key document that basically the government says, hey, we think you're deportable, eligible to be deported for the following reasons. And the judge is going to ask you whether you agree with what the government is alleging or not. And the judge is going to ask you, okay, if I decide that you're eligible for deportation, do you want relief for removal? Are you going to apply for asylum if you haven't already? Is that what you want to do for your defense? That's usually all that happens. And the judge usually tells you your date for the next hearing, called the individual hearing, or sometimes it's called the merits hearing. And that's the one where, you fight your case. You really explain your asylum case. But this first one, called the master calendar hearing, is usually just administrative in nature. But look, especially now with an increase in arrests and deportations, you want to avoid that first hearing if you can. It's best just not to have to go. I mean, if you have a lawyer, you might be able to get it canceled. I mean, you could try this on your own even without a lawyer, but it's going to be tricky. With a lawyer, there's a better chance that you can do in writing what would normally be done in person on the day of this master calendar hearing, and use that to say, Judge, look, we already did everything. We don't need to come in person, therefore, because we're already done with the work we needed to do. Please cancel this master calendar hearing and just skip straight to the main one. Schedule the individual hearing. That's what we do with almost all of our clients. Even if we don't think there's a high arrest risk, we still think it's better to skip this first hearing and go straight to the individual, the merits hearing. So you should consider talking with a lawyer about that. Okay. Nice. Yeah, look, Wessam, Abu Mamo, I really want to talk. You should call my office now, or you can call, or you can go to winasylum.com. But if you want to call, I'm going to put the number on the screen. It is 713-909-0401. Again, 713-909-0401. Hey, by the way, Love, and that I see Love who just posted, and people who are asking about immigration court, go to my YouTube channel. I've got a playlist that says like immigration court, and there you're going to find videos and trainings and just various videos about people about pursuing asylum in immigration court. So go there to YouTube and search for political asylum lawyers, look at the playlists about immigration court, and you're going to find lots of information about what happens in immigration court and how it works and stuff like that. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. Okay. Nice. Have we ever, Rehan Farouk says, have you ever won asylum for a person who came here on an F1 visa? Absolutely. All the time. We have lots of clients that are students that came on an F1 visa and we have many who are still in F1 status when they win, and we have some who came in F1 but that has since expired. They don't have it anymore, and then they win. Both cases, yeah. We've helped lots of students win asylum. Lots. Okay. My case was terminated without going to the hearing. Can I file for my green card now? Says AUO on TikTok. No, that's not how it works. You're not eligible for a green card just because they terminated your asylum case. You need to win asylum before you can file for a green card. If your case was dismissed from immigration court, your option is to file again, and you do that with USCIS, okay? But you have to file for asylum again. What is your website again, please? Says Tamala Nicole. The webpage you can go to schedule the consultation is winasylum.com. I'm going to put it in the chat. Let me type it here. Consultations. Winasylum.com. 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 That's where you can go to schedule a consultation with one of our asylum professionals. We want to talk. We want to get to know you, get to know your case, really understand your situation, and tell you whether we think that we're in a position to support you, to help you. If we think that we are, then we're going to tell you how. We're going to tell you exactly what, exactly what we would do to do that. to try to give you the best help possible, the best chance to win your case. All right. What are the chances of winning your asylum based on gang violence in your country? The question is this: can you win asylum based on fear that you have of being harmed having to do with gang violence in your country? Look, it's tricky. Just the fact that the gang might hurt you because they're violent and they rob people and they do bad things would not help you to win asylum. Also, the mere fact that the gang might hurt you because they're trying to recruit you to join the gang and you don't want to join, usually by itself is not enough to win asylum, because it doesn't, that kind of persecution, that kind of harm doesn't fit into any of the five categories that you have to show that the persecution is motivated by in order for you to win asylum. Because remember, to win asylum, it's not enough just to show that that you have been or will be persecuted, but rather you also have to show that the persecution is on account of, which basically means motivated, at least in significant part, by the fact that you, asylum seeker, possess one of the five protected characteristics under U.S. asylum law. Those are your race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or something called membership in a particular social group. And gang violence usually doesn't fit into one of those, but sometimes it does. A good asylum lawyer will be able to ask you the kinds of questions to analyze and see whether maybe in your particular case, it does fit into one of those, because sometimes it does. Sometimes these gang violence cases are in fact political opinion cases. I know that may sound weird, but sometimes they are. Sometimes there's a religious element or religious hook that we can make a good argument that it's a religious persecution case. So it's tough. These are tough cases to win, but it's not impossible. We've definitely won cases where the persecutor or the feared persecutor is like a gang or gangs. It's not impossible, okay, but it's tough. Alrighty. Look, Clarence Jean-Jacques, are you Haitian? I'm just guessing by the name. Haiti's a little bit different, a little bit particular. There's probably a better chance in Haiti, honestly, than in your normal, typical sort of gang violence case. Okay. All right, let's go to YouTube. What's going on YouTube? Jimenez Garconville says, USCIS canceled my asylum interview twice. What do you think? What does that mean? Good question. The question is this: why does USCIS cancel and then reschedule asylum interviews? What does it mean? Is it a good sign, bad sign? What if they do it more than once? What's up with that? Look, this happens all the time. In fact, we learned recently from discovery through litigation for a mandamus lawsuit that they actually, in a certain period, the second quarter of the last fiscal year, or the current fiscal year, they canceled 20% of all scheduled interviews because of various reasons that almost always have nothing to do with your actual case. It's just officer called in sick, or they couldn't get it rescheduled with someone else, or there's a problem at the office with the air conditioning. There's all kinds of reasons that they very commonly do reschedule interviews for. So the fact that it's happened in your case, including if it's happened twice, almost certainly has nothing to do with your actual underlying case. So you don't need to worry about it in terms of it. Is there a problem with my case? Am I going to get denied? Is this a bad sign? No, nothing like that. Okay. So yeah, don't worry about it in terms of any impact on, your chances for success. Okay. RZA says, how long does it take to get ready for USCIS when signing with your firm? It depends on when you hire us, with how much time there is left. Well, how much time there is between now and your interview will determine what we can offer you. If you don't have an interview scheduled, if you already applied for asylum, but you don't have an interview scheduled yet, then, if you've been waiting for more than 5 years or more, then we'll probably be in a position to sue the government, do the mandamus lawsuit, and then also do the underlying representation in your actual underlying asylum case if you want us to do that. But look, if your interview has already been scheduled and it's within the next 2 months, then the only thing that we can offer you is we can do preparation and representation. We won't have time to do documents. We won't have time to work with you on a declaration or submit evidence or do a legal brief. We don't offer the documents sort of service if there's like less than 2 months before the interview. But we can do the most important thing by far is the preparation. The mock interview that we do is by far the most important thing we do to help people win their asylum case, and we'll have time for that. In fact, we have time for the mock interview if you do the consultation with us and then you hire us to do the mock interview. We can do that if you hire us with as few as 5 business days before the mock interview. We only need 5 business days to arrange and do the mock interview and the debrief session. So basically, the short answer, RZA, is what we can offer you depends on how much time there is, whether you have an asylum interview scheduled, how long you've been waiting, and if you do have an asylum interview scheduled, how much time there is between the time that you do the consultation with us and your interview is set to take place. So basically, it's something we got to figure out when you do a consultation with us of what we can offer you, okay, and how long it will take, and we'll tell you how long it will take for us to do the thing that we are that we're saying we want to do for you. Is suing the government included in your asylum package, or is it a separate cost? If yes, how much is it? Good question. I'm going to look at our fees and tell you exactly how that works. So look, the question is this. Is suing the government to force your asylum case something that we include in our attorney fees if we're representing you? And how much does that cost? Look, we offer a service that is suing the government to force your asylum interview. We offer that as a standalone service. If that's all you want help with, you can hire us just to do that. If you hire us just to do that and not help with your underlying asylum case, the fee is $6,500. If you want our help with both the lawsuit and to represent you in the underlying asylum case, to work with you to give you the best chance to win by doing stuff related to documents, preparation, and representation, if you want all of that, it's $12,500. But in both of those cases, either option, we offer payment plans. You don't have to pay all that at one time. So yeah, that's how that works. Okay. Hope that's helpful. All right. Pavlo says, my case is pending from September 2017. I just got my interview scheduled. Will it hurt my case, that I was waiting for so long? LGBT case from Ukraine. Pavlo, interesting. Good question. The question is this. Is it harder to win asylum if you have to wait a long time for your interview? If you've been waiting for several years after you applied and you finally get your interview, is that bad? Does it make it harder to win? Look, I have to say that I do think that the sooner you get your interview, usually the better your chances for success. But it's not impossible to win even if you applied several years ago and now you're having your interview. It's not impossible. We do help people win in that circumstance often, all the time. You got to do a good job. You got to present the case really, really well, okay? Hopefully you can use country conditions information to your advantage, things like reports, news articles, things like that, that are discussed and cited to in the context of a legal brief that your asylum lawyer, I hope, is writing for you. But if you don't have time for that, or you don't have the funds maybe to hire a lawyer for sort of like a full representation, the most important thing by far in any asylum case is the preparation. Because what you say at your interview is by far more important, much more important than your documents, more important than your application, more important than your declaration, more important than your evidence, more important than a legal brief. It's more important than having a lawyer represent you on the day of the interview. By far, what you say in your testimony on the day of your interview is the most important. So how you prepare for your interview is the most beneficial thing, the most important thing to give yourself the best possible chance to win. And we do offer a service that is like a standalone service. If people don't have time or money to hire us for like the whole representation, we offer this service of just doing the preparation through a mock asylum interview, a full-scale practice asylum interview, and then a follow-on debrief session where we give you feedback and all of our best tips. And this is the most important thing we can possibly do to help you with your case. So if you want to talk about it, we would love to do so in a consultation. We got to do a consultation first. You can't go straight and hire us straight for the for the mock interview service, for the preparation, you have to start with a consultation so we can see whether you qualify for the mock interview service. You can schedule that consultation at winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. Go there right now. You don't have to wait for this show to be over, for this live to be over. Go right now and schedule at winasylum.com. Okay. PBH Corp says, "Hey Brian, can you work for yourself? Like do work, but not as an employee of a company, but rather work on your own as like your own work, by invoicing for your service labor during the 150 to 80 days after filing for asylum." No, you're supposed to wait until you get the actual approval, and then you can work. Doesn't this distinction between working for yourself versus like being an employee in a company doesn't matter. In both those cases, you're supposed to wait until you get your work permit card like approved. Then you can work by yourself, for yourself, or you can work in a company. But you need to wait till you get the EAD approval. Okay. We have this question: can a change of circumstances help your case for filing late because of your political opinion? The question is this: can a change in circumstances serve as an excuse for filing your asylum application late? Look, we're talking here about the 1-year filing deadline. There's a rule that says that to win asylum, you need to apply for it during your first year in the United States. If you don't do that, you won't win asylum unless you qualify for an exception. There's 2 categories of exceptions to the 1-year filing deadline. And one of those categories is called exactly this, the changed circumstances exception. So if something changes, it could be anything. It could be like something that's specific to you, something you've done, something that happens to you. It could be something back in your home country, a change of law in your home country, or a new party comes into power. It can be anything that changes that makes it such that now you need asylum even more than previously. Now you're at even greater risk. Now it's even more likely than previously that you would meet all the qualifications for asylum. Yeah, that's called a changed circumstances exception to the 1-year filing deadline. And totally, yeah, it could be something that allows you to win asylum despite that you're filing late. And it could be way late. It could be 2 years after you came here. It could be 3 years. It could be 10 years after you arrived in the United States. If there's something that changes that fundamentally changes things such that you're really at more risk now, or it's really much more likely that you meet all the qualifications for asylum other than having filed in your first year, then yeah, you can take advantage of this and still win asylum. But it's tricky. This area of law is tricky. I really strongly recommend you get with an asylum lawyer to assess this and talk about it before you decide to apply. And I suggest that you get help in applying and presenting your case. Okay. All right. Henry Yu says, "Hey Brian, I was just wondering, what can a lawyer do in your asylum interview? Can they talk?" Good question. The question is this: so what is the role of an asylum lawyer during your asylum interview with USCIS? What can they do? What value do they add? Look, so in the asylum interview, the lawyer doesn't talk a lot during most of the interview. At the end of the interview, the lawyer has a chance to give kind of like a closing statement. And we use that opportunity to address issues that we think the officer sees as a weakness in your case, or maybe there's things about your case or about the law that they just don't understand very well, which is made clear to us by their questions and how they handle the interview. So it's a really important opportunity to be able to address those issues. But before that, during the rest of the interview, we are making sure that things go smoothly. We're making sure the officer respects your rights and treats you fairly. Also, we're listening for communication errors. Sometimes people talk past each other or they get confused about something you've said. And if we don't jump in to make sure that we clear that up, they may think there's been an inconsistency in your case, which they can then use as an excuse to help justify a denial of your case. So that's an important role the lawyer plays. But look, perhaps most importantly, just having a lawyer participate in the interview helps keep the officer honest, in the sense that it helps to ensure that they just behave more professionally and do their job correctly and do it well and treat you better than if you didn't have a lawyer there. I firmly believe that, based on my experience as a former asylum officer and now as an asylum lawyer. I really think that asylum officers treat you better and do a better job when there is a lawyer involved in your interview. Okay. I feel strongly about that. But it's not the most important thing. The most important thing to give you the best chance of winning your case is the preparation. And we prepare people for that through the mock asylum interview experience that we do. Okay. Igor is asking about, if you have a pending EP2 application, and can you benefit from that? Can you get status based on that while you have a pending asylum case? Igor, it's tricky. It's complicated. I don't handle employment-based immigration. I'm not in a position to advise on that. That's a question that I think you should address with, if you have a lawyer, the company has a lawyer that's helping with that. That's a question for the lawyer that focuses on that kind of immigration status. Okay. All right. Look, F.A. Jade says, very interested in the mock interview. Don't have a date yet. Still on pending. Yeah, look, you can do it now. You can do it now, even though you don't have a even though you don't have an asylum interview scheduled yet, because look, we record it and we'll give you the recording. That way, it doesn't matter whether your interview is 3 months from now or 3 years from now. You can go back and watch it again and listen to it, and you'll see what kind of questions you're going to get probably, and how you did, and what our advice was for how to tell your story in a clearer, more impactful way. It will still be useful to you, even though you don't have an interview scheduled. So yeah, we can do that now if you want. We can also help you with your documents. We can do what we call an asylum roadmap, which is a presentation that we do that consists of 3 elements, or at least 2, sometimes 3, depending on whether you've already submitted a declaration or not. But yeah, there's definitely FA Jade. There's definitely things that we can do to help you if you want our help now. Okay. That's funny. RZA, good one. Oh, nice. I love this comment. Thank you, Kagan or Kagan or Kagan. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. But on YouTube, we've got this comment from Kagan T that says, just had my asylum interview yesterday after 8 years of waiting. If you have the funds, Brian is the person to go to. Mock interview was extremely helpful. So look, there's someone who hired us for the mock interview asylum experience. And they're saying right now on YouTube, they had their interview yesterday and they did the mock interview and it was extremely helpful, they said. Look, the mock interview experience is helpful because you go into the real interview feeling like you've already been there and already done that. You go into it with confidence because look, you know what it feels like to be in that position. You know what kind of questions you're going to get. You know what the different procedures are for the day. You've gotten feedback from an asylum lawyer about how you did and how you can do a better job of telling your story in a clear, powerful, impactful way. And this helps you to perform well in your real interview. And that's what it sounds like what Kagan is saying, is that it helped them. And they just had their interview yesterday. So I hope it went great. Sounds like you feel good about it. If you felt like the mock interview was helpful, it means that at least you were prepared. I don't know if it went great, but at least it sounds like you felt prepared, that we did a good job of showing you what the real interview is like and getting you prepared. So thank you for taking the time to comment about that. I appreciate it. Okay. Okay. Danny G says, if someone's been in the U.S. for 5 to 10 years before their asylum interview, do officers check things like work, crimes, or family? Can that affect the final decision even a little? Good question. The question is this. So let's say you've been in the United States for several years, waiting for your asylum interview. You finally get your interview and you're wondering, look, are they going to be looking at my life in the United States since I've been here for these several years? Are they looking at things like looking into my family? Are they going to look and see whether I've committed crimes? Are they going to look at my work history and whether I've paid taxes? Can these kinds of things affect the decision in your asylum case? Look, of all those things that I just listed, really the only one that they care about and that, yes, they are looking at is the crime question is, if you've committed crimes or had any trouble with the law in the United States, yes, that is relevant. They're going to look at that. They have background checks they run. They have security checks, and they do have access to arrest data. So if you've had problems with the law, you can assume they are going to know about it. And yes, in some cases, that can it can prevent you from getting asylum. Not always, not all problems with the law lead to a denial, but they can. The other stuff, like, whether you've had a good job or how much money you've made, whether you've paid taxes, things like that, no, they don't care about. They just want to know whether you meet the asylum eligibility requirements, okay? So you got to focus on presenting the strongest case possible and preparing, being ready to tell your story in a powerful, impactful way, okay? All right. Nice. Very interesting. Some good questions today. Good questions. Thank you for bringing your A game with these questions, guys. I appreciate it. Andrews, my girlfriend was a political activist leader in Venezuela and fled from persecution. Is that good grounds for asylum? Her final hearing is in 2027. Maybe. Look, we've about half our clients are Venezuelans, Andrew. We know these cases extremely well. I handled a lot of Venezuelan cases when I was an asylum officer with the government as well. So we know these cases well, and we've had a lot of success with them. It depends. Sorry to give the lawyer answer, but like, just being from Venezuela and just even being involved in opposition politics is not by itself enough to win, but it's enough to tell me that there's probably a chance. There's probably something there. So look, we'd have to talk with her in the context of a consultation to really assess her chances for success and how we might be able to help her. Jade says, Brian Manning for president. Thank you. I guess. Salute. Nice. How much for the mock interview? $4,000. $4,000 for if you want just the mock interview, not the rest of like the help with, helping you in other ways, in terms of documents and representing you, that sort of thing. If you just want the mock interview service where it's a 2-hour session, and then another day we do another session of 30 minutes, that mock interview experience is $4,000. Okay. Okay. Yes, that's correct. PBH Corp. You did a consultation with Talia. Yep, that's correct. You can still work. Yeah, if you have status based on H-2B, H-2A, whatever it is, yeah, you can keep working until it expires, even though you've applied for asylum, or even if you get an asylum denial, a final denial, if you still have that status based on something else, including H-2A or H-2B, yeah, you can keep working legally until that status expires. Okay. Alex Bita says, Moldova, I came as a student, J1, and applied for asylum in 2017. We have a toddler who's a U.S. citizen. Having a U.S. citizen doesn't help you or hurt you in your asylum case. It just doesn't have any impact either way, negative or positive. It doesn't have any impact. Moldova, nice. Chisinau, where are you from? I haven't been there. I've been near. I've been in countries in the region. I'd like to go to Moldova someday, but I know that it has its problems, right? You applied in 2017, Alex. We should talk. If you're sick of waiting and you want to get certainty and confidence around your future in America, we should talk. We would love to talk with you about possibly suing the government to force your asylum interview. Since you've been waiting for so long, Alex, since 2017, you're in a really strong position to have success with this kind of lawsuit. There's a good chance that you could win this lawsuit, or have success with this lawsuit and get your interview scheduled. So if you want to talk with us about that, please schedule a consultation. You can schedule it right now. at winasylum.com. WINASYLUM.com. Again, that's winasylum.com. Winasylum.com. Okay. I helped my friend marry. Nathan Lean says, I helped my friend marry a Muslim girl back in my home country, and since then I've been facing serious threats and bullying. Can I apply for asylum in the U.S. based on the situation? So okay, let me read that again. You helped your friend marry a Muslim girl, and you've been facing threats and bullying. It sounds like it's because of religion. Maybe not your religion, but because of religious issues that they think that I don't know if it's Hindus. I'm not sure who it is, but somebody doesn't like the fact that you were involved in helping someone marry a Muslim. And maybe they're anti-Islam, anti-Muslim, it sounds like. And because of that, they want to harm you, or they've been threatening you and bullying you. It might work. Yeah, there might be a case there. There could be a religion case there. We should talk about it. We need to ask you a lot of questions and get to know you, get to know your case, and really tell you whether we think we can help you. Okay. You asked how much it costs to hire us right now, like from the beginning, before you've applied for asylum and you want to apply with USCIS. It's different in court. Court is a different fee. For an asylum case with USCIS to hire us from the beginning, right now, it's $10,000. But you don't have to pay all that at once. There's like a phased payments where you pay over time. You don't have to pay all that at once. But the total is $10,000. But look, we're about to raise our prices, maybe actually in the coming days, including that one. So if you think you might want our help, schedule a consultation right now and talk with us about that before those fees go up, okay? So anyway, we'd love to talk with you. Go to winasylum.com to schedule that consultation, WINASYLUM.com. That's where you can schedule an asylum strategy session with one of our asylum professionals. We want to talk with you in an asylum strategy session. So go to winasylum.com to schedule it. That's going to be it for today. I'm Brian Manning, and I am an asylum lawyer. I was an asylum officer. Now I'm an asylum lawyer. And my law firm, Political Asylum Lawyers, we help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. And we want to talk with you if you think you might need help at winasylum.com. As always, look, it's really a pleasure supporting you, serving you in your asylum journey. So thank you for being with us, and we'll talk to you next time. We'll see you next time on this live. All right. Take care, guys. Have a great afternoon. Have a great day. Take care.